What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Dr. T.S. Johnson had this particular article posted on his Facebook timeline. It is called Righteous Discontent, Why Single Black Women Who Want to Be Married Are Not More Broken Than Anyone Else. Right? And it was a well-written article. I enjoyed reading it. And I want to just kind of touch on, from a more of a large scale vantage point, what she's trying to get across is that, black women are being attacked online for their abysmal dating or marriage rates. All right. And, this myth that black women's standards are too high, or, they're not settling enough, or, maybe she didn't talk about obesity in the article, but maybe that they're too obese, or these other reasons, right? And she said that is just completely false, right? Because in comparisons to other people, they're not any much different. All right. And how do we know this? She did something, which is she used herself as an example. So she used anecdotal evidence to prove it. So she said that, as she's gotten over, she's been shamed for being unmarried in this patriarchal system. But she says, she used herself as a vignette. She works out. She's in her 30s, right? She goes to events. She's not a person that, sits at home all the time. She believes that her physicality and her attractiveness is just as good as anybody else, right? She goes to these dating things and these mixers. But what she's found out is that she's never really been in a relationship. People don't pursue her. What she gets is these situationships. And, basically these guys get with her and it's from 4 to 6, months or to a year. And there's no real title on the relationship. And there's nothing that is going, no forth on the relationship long term. In all of these, matchmaking attempts, and she goes back to the reason why is basically the war on the African American marriage, right? She talks about the imprisonment of black men. She talks about the dark skin hating going on in the community, these are certain things that we've seen before. And, that black women are not the beauty standard in all of this. Okay. So let's assume that this can be true. All right. So she used anecdotal evidence. Then let me use anecdotal evidence in this case. What about Gabby Sidibe? Gabby Sidibe is not conventionally what one would consider to be attractive if she's dark skinned. Okay. She is what one would consider to be obese. Yet, she's married outside of the community, engaged to a white man. So that's the same thing I would ask black women. Why is it that if their undesirability is bad in black America, what about other places? Okay? Now, then my question would be to the young lady, is dark-skinned black women in America who do not have her social class and who do not have what she has, how are they also married? Because you have to look at the worse and the better. Okay. It's just like my brother used to tell me, okay, you're studying really hard for an exam. You got a B. Why did you get a B? And somebody else got an A. It's still a bad excuse for underperforming. That's what it is. Because we've seen black women have the opportunity to marry outside of the black community if they're attractive enough, if they're well positioned enough. It's okay. Right? But all of these excuses come down to not being able to perform. That's all I keep hearing. Okay, the systematic supremacy of the white man is stopping me from getting married. Racism and white supremacy. Black men are in jail. Oh, okay, fine. Why do you still have so many unmarried black men? Why are there so many black men who are 35 like you and never had a kid? Black men with good jobs. So there are black men out there. Well, then the situation is why? Because really, have you really tried as hard as you're saying you're trying? Is there something about your attitude? I mean, I know you're giving an examination of yourself. How do other people feel about you? You're saying as a woman, she even said in an article, no man has ever wanted to bring her to the family. Okay, well, why is that? See, here are the things that people want to use to defend why they're losing. When if this was a man, that wouldn't be the case. Okay? How do you actively position yourselves in the market? And the reality is, numbers don't lie. Like, you can't sit here and use the statistic of, well, these many black men are in prison. Okay? Which would be an accurate thing. Whereas if you go on certain dating sites, I forgot who it was, Match.com, when they put out the fact that it was black women were the least desired on the site, wasn't just from black men, it was from everybody. So you don't want to argue those stats. But when it fits your narrative, we can argue this. The issue is that a lot of black women, okay, like her, who obviously, by the way she wrote this article, she's a very brilliant woman, very talented woman. And so she's not going to be able to match with just any idiot, okay? You know, she goes to, she's intellectual. It's clear. The problem is that you're competing against a lot of different women for the guy that you want. Sorry. Are you as good for a woman as the white woman, as the Hispanic woman, as the other dark-skinned black women, or as the Asian woman? I mean, let's look at Sean Rooks. Okay? I want to use her for an example. The example is what? She is dating who? The guy from Twitter, Jack Dorsey. All right? Do we hear her talking about, well, you know what? She's dark-skinned. She can't get a man. Says nobody. Taylor Rooks, rather. Okay? Taylor Rooks is dark. Very dark-skinned. But what is she doing? She understands how to position herself. A lot of African-American women are too busy being victims. Well, I don't have this, I don't have that. Well, what about your traits make you undesirable? You're 30, you're good looking, so you say, and no man is wanted to get, are you really? Well, that's odd, isn't it? What is it about you that you have not worked on? What is it about you that makes it bad? What is it about you? And that fundamentally isn't what we're talking about. It's always other excuses. When it comes to men, you don't want to hear excuses. When it comes to women and why they can't do things, okay, you're the only group that's making these. You don't see white women, Asian women, even women from, let's just say, for example, women coming from other parts of the dark continent, or the dark-skinned Brazilian women or dark Dominican. They don't have these excuses. And it's not just colorism. Everybody has to perform. The question is, why are ladies like her not performing? And we don't want to deal with that. We want to deal with everything else and make excuses but that. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell, check out the first comment at the top, and as you know, the buffoonery remains at all-time high. I'm out.